we are at the book club again. A very good evening to those for whom it is evening, and a very good morning for those for whom it is morning in other parts of the world. So today we have Monali Chatterjee with Satyajit Ray's iconic film, and this is absolutely marvelous. I'm all agog. Now, I have requested Latika Padgaonkar to moderate this session because she is so much more knowledgeable about film than me. Now, for those of you who have lived in Pune a long time, you might know that Latika Taude taught French at Ferguson College once upon a time and was a very popular teacher there. Thereafter, she was spirited away by someone called Dilip Padgaonkar, who took her to France. And then we saw these articles emanating from Paris. You know, the Times of India Paris correspondent was Dilip Padgaonkar. So it was Dilip Padgaonkar from Paris, and then Latika Padgaonkar from Paris, and lovely articles, Latika, which I remember to this day, absolutely gorgeous. So we have Latika, who, has a journalism background, a French background, and she has expertise in film. She has organized film festivals, and she did organize an Iranian film festival for us, for Gyan Adab and the book club also, which I remember watching with great pleasure. So Latika, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mohini. That was too generous an opening, not warranted, but thank you anyway. And a warm welcome to all my book club friends who I've been seeing online. And now I can't wait to see all of you face to face. I hope we can do that very early next year, by March, hopefully, so that we actually get to know one another instead of just doing FaceTime almost. So thank you for letting me step in for you today, and everyone do bear with me. This is, I asked Mohini, and this is our 80th session. So I must say hats off and kudos to Satish and Mohini for their enthusiasm and their diligence week after week for the past 17, 18 months, I think, or more, and the regular momentum they have kept up in getting these weekly sessions organized without really giving up a single session. Really bravo. Now today, as Mohini said, we have a session with a difference. So far we've been discussing books. For the first time now, we are going to discuss a film, Ghare Baire by Satyajit Ray, Home in the Wild. This is a subtitled version. Mohini had given everybody the link to the film. So I hope all of you, and if not all of you, most of you, were able to see the film so that today's discussion can be more meaningful. Now, the talk is being given by Monali Chatterjee. She has quite an amazing CV. When I asked her about it, she said very modestly, that she was fond of reading, that she was fond of theatre, she was fond of cinema, critic, and so on. All that was part of her research, and this we all know because Mohini has posted it to us. But later on, I discovered that she has actually contributed articles and chapters to many books. So she is much more of a heavyweight than she proclaims to be in the field of both cinema and literature. So I'm going to leave the introduction of Satyajit Ray to Monali herself. I must boast a little bit by saying that I had the good fortune to meet him, Dilip and I, when he was shooting Satranj Ke Khiladi. But I don't really know him. For me, suffice it to say that a great film critic and a great film historian who I knew, who is no more now, Chidanand Dasgupta, who was a friend of Satyajit Ray, and the two of them, together with a few others, including Hariharan Dasgupta, they were responsible for establishing the Calcutta Film Society in 1947. And Chidanand Dasgupta has written on Ray. I have his book also. And he said something which I found very pertinent. Satyajit Ray, he said, saw the ethical development of the individual, the importance of good means to achieve good ends as the key to social regeneration. Why I'm quoting this is because I think this very clearly defines what we find in Ghare Baire. Satyajit Ray did not believe, says Chidanand Dasgupta, that the end justifies the means. And I think this is all what Ghare Baire is about. So this much said, I will, since this is going to have a bearing on my talk, on her talk, I thought I'd just quote Chidanand Dasgupta, but I hand over the floor to Monali. It's all yours, Monali. Please begin.
Am I audible? Thank you, Latika ma'am, for such a generous introduction, and I hope I live up to it. So I'm just sharing my screen. Do let me know if it is visible. My presentation is on Ghare Baire written by Rabindranath Tagore. And as he says, everything comes to us that belongs to us if we create the capacity to receive it. And this is ever more relevant today in the backdrop of so many world events that we have in our hands. Particularly the global crisis of environmental warming, or rather global warming, and a lot of political hegemony. So this is what I'll be talking about: Rabindranath Tagore, Satyajit Ray, Ghare Baire, the interpretation of both the novel and the film, and the narration. So as we all know, we are talking about a Nobel laureate here, and an Oscar winner. So we all know about Rabindranath Tagore, and I'll not dwell much about him. But since we are talking about this novel, it is easy to see how what a great polymath he had been, since he was literature, philosopher, social reformer, educationist, actor, painter, rural economist, philanthropist, and so on. So Ghare Baire came out in 1916, and it was translated much later as The Home and the World. As a novel, it had geared up a lot of controversy, because usually the debate would be about patriarchal society when it came to Tagore. People talked about how the husbands would want the wives to bear subservience, no matter which part of the social ladder one belonged to. But in this case, it was slightly the opposite, and you will know how. Okay, this looks slightly distorted, but Satyajit Ray has been a highly acclaimed director. What you can see only partially is just a list of his general awards. He has got about 224 awards. These are just the general ones. The other ones are for the specific films that he has directed. He has also written so many stories. He has directed for films, and he had begun as an illustrator for a magazine that was run by his grandfather initially, and then his father, Sukumar Ray. So he has been the only Oscar winner till date, and he has also got numerous other awards, including Bharat Ratna and Padma Shri. So he had very unconventional ways of storytelling, and he could shoot his films on a shoestring budget, which made even the mode of storytelling through cinema all the more unconventional. So this is the poster of Ghare Baire, and this was the one that had gone abroad, and it had been a highly acclaimed film. So this is the cast, as you can see. So we have got Soumitra Chatterjee playing the role of Sandeep Mukherjee. Victor Banerjee, is a highly acclaimed actor and anchor. He has also anchored for the BBC. Swati Sengupta has been a very popular theatre artist, and she's played the role of Bimla. She's the heroine of the novel and the film. And in the film, of course, she is the protagonist, and we've got other actors too. So this is how the film begins. It begins with Bimla's narration. In the novel, of course, the narration is not just centered on a single character, but on three characters. So it is, we get a viewpoint from Bimla, her husband Nikhilesh, and Sandeep. So Bimla was married to Nikhil for 10 years, almost 10 years. And when she was getting married, she was told that her husband belonged to a noble family, and was highly educated. So ever since Bimla was married, she stayed with her husband and her widowed sister-in-law. Now, this widowed sister-in-law was um, her husband Nikhil's brother's wife, who soon became a widow after she was married. So Bimla was aware that much of the privileges that she received as a married woman were denied to her sister-in-law. She and her sister-in-law stayed in the inner apartments of the house, often called Antar Mahal. Um, a series of stained glass screens separated the inner apartments from the rest of the world. So this was a very symbolic journey that Bimla makes with her husband later. So her husband was, since her husband was very highly educated, he wanted his wife to be educated too. And to serve this purpose, Miss Gilby, played by Jennifer Kendall, who we all know as Shashi Kapoor's wife, had played this role. So Miss Gilby had been appointed to teach Bimla English language, customs, and manners. Nikhil tells Bimla, and this is what I'm just summarizing what he says, I don't think tradition should be followed blindly. So how can we, how can a woman know what kind of a man she's married if she can't compare him with the others? And there is no logic in confining women. And so Nikhil wanted his wife Bimla to meet other men, particularly his friend Nikhil. So this is what he even says, that in the past, confining women to the house wasn't a Hindu custom. So it came much later. And he gives the example of Sita, Savitri, Draupadi. So one fine day, of course, here there's something very important about Sandeep. Sandeep is a freedom fighter who loans money from Nikhil to support his patriotic activities, often labeled as the Swadeshi movement in the country. Bimla reluctantly agrees to meet Sandeep, yielding to Nikhil's persuasion. A few days later, in the backdrop of the Swadeshi movement, a schoolboy hurls stones at Miss Gilby and severely injures her head. So during the Swadeshi movement, everybody was boycotting foreign goods and anything that was foreign. So because Miss Gilby was a foreigner, she was attacked this way. And Sandeep's public speech that happened soon after this incident overwhelms Bimla. So, and as you can see, there are some scenes that really show Sandeep in a perfect, in a very picture perfect frame. And so this is the corridor that Bimla had talked about. And very soon we find that Bimla makes this journey. It is almost like a symbolic journey that she makes from the inner apartments to the outer room of her house. So this is the symbolic journey. In fact, there is no dialogue that happens during this time. There's only music. There are very few instances of non-diegetic sound or music, which is the sound that does not emanate from the happenings of the film. So Sandeep further impresses on Bimla's mind with his first conversation with her and urges her to join his team of compatriots. Sandeep also sings a song. The song has originally been sung by Kishore Kumar. A lot of controversy had arisen because of this. Many people thought Satyajit Ray could have chosen from a host of many other singers why Kishore Kumar, but then there was a certain shallowness of sentiments that had to be conveyed along with the seeming genuine feelings of patriotism. So this is what Kishore Kumar could do very well as an actor himself. Sandeep meets Bimla in Nikhil's absence many times after this incident and often addresses her as the Queen Bee. So he often tells Bimla that I look upon you as my source of inspiration. And he knows that that Nikhil would never suspect anything about Sandeep. He asks Bimla to convince Nikhil to get his estate, which is called Shukshire, which is to which, of course, Nikhil is the landlord, to boycott foreign goods. So this is what Sandeep is asking Bimla to do, and he uses a lot of propositions to convince Bimla to do it. But Nikhil rejects it because, number one, foreign goods are cheaper and of a better quality than the goods made in India. Also, the people in his estate can afford only cheap foreign-made goods. And thirdly, there are Muslims in the Sukshire estate who depend on foreign goods for their livelihood. So if these goods are boycotted, then they may turn against their Hindu landlord. And of course, Sandeep has a different way of looking at things. So when Bimla conveys this to Sandeep, he sort of perceives the situation in a different way. And he says that what I can snatch is mine, and my country is mine only when I'm able to win it by force. So what you can see on screen is seen in Nikhil's living room. Much of the incidents of the film take place in the living room of Nikhil. And in the meantime, Sandeep stays as a guest in Nikhil's house. So Sandeep always fears that in case if Nikhil does not support him, then he is not going to be able to promote his national cause here. And here, of course, Sandeep ropes in a meritorious student called Amulya to do into his Swadeshi activities. The other person you can see on the screen is an erstwhile teacher of Nikhil. When Sandeep fails to persuade Nikhil's estate vendors to boycott, so what you can see on the screen is a banner here. It says Vande Mataram in Bengali. Okay, and when Sandeep fails to persuade Nikhil's estate vendors to boycott foreign goods, he conspires communal riots against the Muslim vendors. Nikhil's erstwhile teacher, whom you just saw, advises Nikhil to stop allowing Sandeep to remain as a guest in his house. This is Amulya. I just forgot to mention. This is Amulya, and he's only 17 years old. And Borarani, who is Bimla's sister-in-law, the widowed sister-in-law, also advises Nikhil to oust Sandeep to save his marriage. But in the meantime, Sandeep meets Bimla many times in Nikhil's absence and also becomes intimate with Bimla. But Nikhil does not, and when Borarani tries to convince Nikhil to not allow Sandeep in the house any longer, Nikhil says that, well, there's no point in coerced action. And it is only if Bimla does not want to meet Sandeep, the situation can be saved, not otherwise. So Sandeep secretly stops supplies of goods to this Sukshire estate. Sandeep also continues to woo Bimla with songs of the motherland as a representative of his patriotism, and accepts her heavy sum of money as a contribution to the Swadeshi movement. He also smokes foreign-made cigarettes and travels only by first-class trains, which Bimla comes to know much later from Amulya. Nikhil knows that we can't have a country without Muslims and people from other communities. And he's really worried that because of Sandeep's coerced activities, there might be riots in his estates. So he advises his men to stop any form of growing communal differences or violence, or else we would be courting disaster. So as you can see, there is a scene wherein people are running with fire. They want to set fire to the residences of people of the other community. Okay, so in the meantime, of course, although Bimla knows all this, Sandeep continues to take help from Bimla. Nikhil asked Sandeep to leave his house and his estate. Okay, but by that time, of course, Sandeep has really got Bimla in his control. And as you can see, this had become a scene of major controversy. This scene, of course, did not exist in the novel, but it did exist in the film. As you can see, there are a lot of Muslim vendors who are getting agitated about the stoppage of supplies to their estates. And of course, Nikhil notices all this, and he advises his men. Now, through this painting, there is a very symbolic way of conveying that more clouds of anxiety are about to gather in this estate. So, and of course, Sandeep does realize that his time in the estate is coming to a close. So he tries to get as much money that he can from Bimla. And even after giving gold sovereigns to Sandeep stealthily, Bimla tells Amulya to sell off her jewelry in Calcutta to arrange for 5,000 rupees that Sandeep has asked her to get. And at the outbreak of communal riots, there's a lot of melodrama here now. Sandeep returns Bimla her jewelry because Amulya loots a treasury house and gets Sandeep his required money. Sandeep leaves in the wake of the riots, which Nikhil goes out to quell. Of course, he is a very good landlord, so he goes out to do that. And Bimla realizes what kind of a disaster has happened. She is now repentant about her infidelity. But of course, Nikhil is not worried. Nikhil says that you have met a man after 10 years. You've seen another man after 10 years. You've never seen any other man for such a long time. So it is not so unnatural to feel infatuated by Sandeep. And Sandeep is a charming person. So he has been extremely considerate as a husband. So as you can see, there is a visual of riots here. It has been conveyed very realistically, but Nikhil never returns, and Bimla turns into a widow. So this is how the story ends. And there are certain edges that are very interesting to look at. So Sandeep is transparently shallow. It is very evident, but then he tries really hard to show how authentic he is. Nikhil thoughtfully considers every aspect before embarking on the course of action. So he does not get moved by Sandeep's nationalistic propaganda. And in the novel, of course, Tagore stringently critiques the glorification of the revolution. From all this, let me tell you that in the film, somewhere there is a mention that Nikhil has also tried to arrange, not just arrange, but establish small-scale industries to produce country-made goods that we had been originally importing from England, particularly items like clothes, soaps, shoes, and so on. But each of them, even matchsticks, but each of them had been a failure. And this is partly autobiographical because not only Tagore, but even his brothers had tried to set up small-scale industries of not just these items, but even shipbuilding yards in order to ensure that they were able to manufacture country-made goods before they boycotted foreign-made goods. So Tagore always thought that in case if you want to stop using something, you should have a backup plan. You should have an alternative way of having such things at one's disposition. And unless and until those goods are cheaper than foreign-made goods, nobody is going to buy them. So this was the entire idea. So Bimla questions her happy marriage only to realize the falseness of the sophistication of such a revolution. So there are some dyads here. The Home and the World as a novel, there's a socio-political significance here. There is a political upheaval against the British. Now, it is very symbolically portrayed here. So the country has been romanticized as mother, and the British are invading it, and the people of the country are trying to sort of save their mother from the British. But Nikhil did not romanticize this image. He thought survival is of prior importance. He needs to ensure that the people of his estates are happy. And on the other hand, of course, there's the wife's emotional involvement with another man. Okay. So Sandeep, of course, extracts both wealth and sensual pleasures from Bimla. He alters the situation to satisfy his vested interests by flattering Bimla. He also bribes the necessary people in Sandeep's estate so that he can stop supplies of foreign goods to that particular estate. Bimla suffers by taking part in the Swadeshi movement. Of course, she's only a passive contributor to it. The only thing that she is able to do is contribute money, which of course she gets back soon after Sandeep returns everything at Amulya's instance. Nikhilesh is symbolic of truth, and Sandeep is symbolizes illusion here. So as you can see, Nikhil is Tagore's mouthpiece. Bimla is supposed to symbolize Mother India, and Sandeep is colonial dominance. So the film has been narrated from Bimla's point of view. As I've told you earlier, the novel has been narrated from the viewpoint of Sandeep and Nikhil as well. So we come to know each one's point of view. So each one gives an autobiographical idea of his or her stance. So Bimla should come out of the parda to realize a true worth. This is what Nikhil thinks, and he appoints this English governess. So there's a gradual development of Bimla's character from a very static or stagnant character. Bimla reluctantly and unpreparedly confronts the world, but and of course, although she is born in a lower middle class family, she always is ready to succumb to whatever dominance she's subjected to from the patriarchal society, and she's very happy with the idea. Nikhil believes that Bimla has only come to his home and not life, and that is why he introduces Bimla to the outside world. And seeing that she has been childless after 9 years of marriage, it sort of prompts Nikhil to take this step. Now, the film also shows a lot of Victorian elitism. So there are, you will be able to see furniture, props. If you can see here, the curtains, the chandelier, the statuettes, they are all foreign made, and they are very elitist in nature. If you can see the backdrop here, it is very suggestive of the kind of wealth that this landlord has. Now, apart from that, there's a lot of play on lights, colors, and shots. So most of the shots are, there are hardly any long shots because they are mostly within the confines of the house. So there are close shots and middle close shots or bust shots. The light is very realistic, as you can see. So during Tagore's time, just this was just the kind of lights that existed. This is a daylight scene, so there's a change in light, and there is a lot of play in shadows. So also the kind of colors that have been used. So Bimla is usually seen in red or in very vibrant colors. Sandeep has been mostly seen in uniform colors, the one that I had shown you earlier when he was giving his public speech. And Nikhil has muted but still very fancy looking clothes, but not gaudy. So he was a landlord, but not the landlord who showed off his wealth. So this was the kind of modesty that is projected through the film. So I come to the end of my presentation. I hope I'm on time. Thank you.
Monali, thank you very much. Very nice presentation. You timed it correctly, giving us about 35 minutes to ask queries, etc. Where are you, Latika? Latika, take over, please, now. And let's have people asking questions. First of all, you start it off and then they ask people. Go ahead. And unmute yourself, Latika, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, Monali. Can I begin by making just two observations, and then we'll go on to some more details. The first observation is that this is a story which takes place against the backdrop of the Swadeshi movement. Okay, it's an excellent story because it is actually in some ways putting some aspects of the Swadeshi movement into question. You see, when we are taught about Swadeshi movement in school, we always think of it as a unidimensional, all-embracing nationalistic movement that really triggered, which was part of the independence movement slowly, and it is what got people together. But Tagore is saying this is not necessarily so. He's saying that there were people who were not nationalistic in this sense. They had love of their mother, they had love for their motherland, like Nikhilesh did. He was a zamindar, he loved his country. But that did not mean he agreed with the Swadeshi movement. First of all, they were troubleshooters, troublemakers, hypocrites, like Sandeep in the Swadeshi movement. And these people had to turn the movement into something destructive. So that is one part of the Swadeshi movement. The other part is that Nikhilesh says, I love my country, I will do everything for my country, but not at the cost of betraying the people who work on my land. So that is why when I said what Chidanand Das Gupta said, it's the ethical element that is most important. I think this is it. The second thing is that what Tagore has succeeded in doing is putting a lot of things together. This film and the story also, I suppose, works at the political level, political stroke colonial on the one hand, social and economic on the other. It is also a personal tale because it's a tale about two people getting together and meeting, Monali on the one hand, Sandeep on the other. It could be a triangle, love triangle, but here are two people who are covering each other. And at the same time, it's gender because Nikhilesh is trying to get his wife out from the Zenana part of the huge mansion and come out into the world. So it's a story which works on many levels, I think. And it all comes together with the Swadeshi movement in the background. Would you agree with this?
Of course, in fact, there is an invasion at two levels. The invasion of India by the British, and there is an invasion of Nikhil's household by Sandeep. So, of course, as you said, so there are two parallels that run. And of course, here there are various ways of dealing with invasion. So here Sandeep actually puts his foot down and he says that the first thing that I want is the people of my estates should be safe. It is like Tagore saying that the people of my country should be safe. And this he was saying at the backdrop of the partition of Bengal. I'm sure by everybody remembers that Bengal actually at that time was Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and Bangladesh. You can imagine what a huge area that covered. And the British could not deal with such a huge area. And that is why they had sort of separated one part of Bengal saying, okay, this is East Pakistan. It is not, it was called, yeah. So that was, they said it was divide and rule. And in fact, the film also says that. Sandeep does say that, yes, the British are talking about divide and rule. And this is exactly what Sandeep does in Nikhil's household. He sort of divides, he creates a divide in Nikhil's household by not allowing Nikhil to sort of find out how he was convincing Bimla to help him and support him, not just financially, but also in being intimate with him. So yes, there are these two levels that dominate. And of course, Tagore does say that Swadeshi movement is fine, but then we have to erect this alternative plan. So what is that alternative plan? Are we manufacturing things in our country that we are ready to boycott? If not, then let us first erect that alternative plan so that people don't suffer out of hunger and die. That was his major way of looking at it. So he, because he was also in charge of many estates that are now a part of Bangladesh. So he knew how people suffered. And the first thing that was always on his mind was, if the country is not united, if there are communal differences, it can never fight a foreign power. And that is why, in very subtle ways, he tried to propose this. Of course, he was still echoing Bankim Chandra Chatterjee here when he was talking about all this, because this is exactly what Bankim Chandra Chatterjee talks about in his famous novel Anand Mat. So, yeah.
Monali, I have a question about the sisters-in-law. See, in the original novel, there are two sisters-in-law prominent figures. The first one is all religious and fairly dominating. The second one is still worldly, but she has no option. And I get the feeling the second one is clearly in love with her brother-in-law. That is with Nikhilesh. Remember a scene in the novel, when it's clear that Bimla is under the influence of Sandeep. She comes to Nikhilesh's room in the night. See, and he can feel her tears falling on his hands and so on. So obviously she is there as an important figure. Plus you also remember that in the novel, he proposes to Bimla that they should leave this place and go and settle on in Calcutta and let the two sisters-in-law enjoy their place. Now, by the omission of the second one, and in a sense, by making the first one less prominent, very clearly, Satyajit Ray has tried to convey a message, something about part of his vision. Would you like to comment on this?
Okay, so basically, there are two brothers in Nikhil's household. One is, of course, absent because he's dead, and somewhere, of course, Borarani, that is Bimla's sister-in-law, has been a playmate of Nikhilesh when Nikhilesh was not married. Also, Borarani has been the neglected wife of her husband when he was alive. So this is something that she keeps commenting on and keeps on cautioning Bimla that, see, you've got Sandeep here, make sure that you are cautious. Okay, but Bimla interprets this as her deprivation to worldly pleasures. She knows very well, Bimla knows very well that Borarani has been deprived of a lot of happiness, a lot of indulgences in life simply because she's widowed and she has been married for a very short time. So a lot of her caution has been sort of swept away by Bimla. Now, I'm not very clear about what you were trying to say about Sandeep, but I think this, have I answered your question? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I think on the whole, the point about Sandeep was that the two sisters-in-law, and both widows, sister-in-law oppose his presence strongly in the house. Second is a weaker person, but the first one tries some mistake role. She is overruled by Bimla. Remember, Sandeep is told he cannot enter his room.
Sir, we cannot hear you actually, or maybe I can't hear you.
Prashant, come closer to the mic and speak.
Can the others hear me? Am I audible now?
Speak some more. Speak some more.
Am I audible now?
Come closer to the mic and speak.
I cannot come much closer. I'm very, very close to the computer.
Go ahead. No, I think he switched himself off. I think he switched himself off. Paki, would you like to carry on? Paki, do you have anything to say?
No, this relationship between Bimla and Boro Rani, Bimla, I think, does not actively, I don't think she actively is critical of Boro Rani. She sympathizes with her very much.
Yes.
But Boro Rani, on the other hand, is a little jealous of Bimla and also is very conservative, and so therefore there is in her comments there is a lot of implied criticism about her leaving the inside mahal and going out or meeting Sandeep. She also makes one very sarcastic comment saying that when Krishna plays his flute, then who can resist, going to meet him. So that is there, but at the same time, her sympathies are with Nikhil. I mean, she's very close to Nikhil more than her sister-in-law.
Yes. I can't agree more to this. I guess, yes, this is absolutely true. In fact, she was jealous, no doubt, but her concern is and sympathy is more towards Nikhilesh, because Nikhilesh was her childhood playmate. Yes. So they both have grown up together and they share a different kind of a bond, not the formal kind of bond that should be ideally seen in such a relationship, but something much beyond that, but nothing that transcends the boundaries of marriage. But of course, the bond of concern and care for one another. So that was definitely shown, not just in the film, but very beautifully in the novel. So, and not just in this particular novel, but in many other stories that Tagore has written. Particularly, there is a very beautiful short story called Noshtonir. It is translated as The Broken Nest, and that too is a very popular film. So if somebody, it is called Charulata. I'm sure many people have seen it. It's a masterpiece on its own. So yeah, thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
One, I'll make a comment on the story, and then we'll come to the film itself and the technical qualities of the film. I was talking about the Swadeshi movement, which is the backdrop, as well as in the forefront of the story. And you find that there are two strands of Swadeshi here. One strand is about people like Sandeep, who are sloganeering, who like to give mantras, who like to give slogans, who like to get applause. And on the other hand, there are people like the headmaster says, my student, who take concrete action. Sandeep doesn't do anything concrete to help the people. In fact, he just says, burn gourds, he sinks boats, he does all kinds of violent things. But he doesn't do anything concrete. He only smokes foreign cigarettes. And when things are burning, he sits at a distance and looks on, very nattily dressed, smoking a foreign cigar. So this is one hypocrisy of the Swadeshi movement. The other thing I wanted to say is, however beautiful the story, Monali, were you personally convinced about the technical quality of the film? Because we do know that in the process of making this film, Satyajit Ray had a heart attack.
Yes.
And the film was, held in abeyance. And later on, when he came back when he recovered and came back to the sets, at that time, his son completed the film under his guidance. So there's certainly some difference. I don't know if there's a difference, but I just find that technically the film is not something that is inspiring like a Charulata or a Jalsaghar or the Apu trilogy. This film is so slow. And you start wondering, why is it slow? Is the tempo made deliberately slow to tell the viewer that at that time life was slow? Nothing really required that slow tempo. But for instance, Bimla is shown looking into the mirror, taking out her pins one by one while her husband speaks to her from the back. Slowly, slowly, it goes on forever. She puts clothes in the cupboard, it takes forever. When she puts on a new blouse and she looks into the mirror, it takes forever. She takes so long, and the shots are so slow and repeated that you start wondering, has something gone wrong either with the camera movement or with the editing? Because they are repetitive and extraordinarily slow shots. That is number one. Number two, I also felt that there wasn't much by way of Bimla's, character did not come out. She did not show a wide variety of emotions. She was very stiff. In many of the scenes, I find Bimla is stiff. She does not emote. I don't know if you got this feeling at all, but that is what I feel. Upper classes, they stare out of the window. What are they looking at? We don't know. Are they admiring what's outside? Are they supposed to be thinking? They're just standing there. So the tempo is something that I couldn't relate myself to, or maybe we got used to another tempo. Maybe at the time it was made in 1984, that tempo was acceptable to viewers.
Monali, we can't hear you. Can you come on? Can you start your video and mic? Monali, can
She
you hear
did
me?
say that her network was.
Okay, Monali, switch it on and come. I think
Latika,
Prashant is here again. I would like Prashant to
Yes.
complete. Monali, can you hear me now?
Monali is back. Monali, your mic is switched off, however. Latika, I was saying excellent points from you.
Thank you.
So I look forward to hearing Monali comment on them.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes,
ma'am?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yes, so I thank you so much, Latika ma'am. The comments were really good. In fact, there was a time when I also felt the same way. And when I read the novel, I read the novel first and then saw the film later. But when I read the novel, I could see that there were a lot of incidents packed in the novel that that were not mentioned in the film. Now, Tagore as a novelist had only to describe incidents, but Satyajit Ray had the responsibility to show that on the screen, and not everything can be shown on the screen, provided he normally worked on a very limited budget, number one. Secondly, he had this, he was not well, and in fact, rather seriously ill during this time. And even when the credits are shown, as an assistant, Sandeep's name comes in as his assistant in direction. So yes, Sandeep may have assisted in certain things, but I don't think this may have slowed down the narration. I think Ray had just two very limited opportunities. Number one, he shows just a very limited aspect of the film, limited aspect of the story in his film, which he did. And the other was he would have packed his film with a lot of incidents, and thereby shifting away the focus from the original theme of the film to various other incidents, which he normally does not do in any form of storytelling. So maybe that was the reason why we find that the narration is slightly slower. Also, yes, Latika ma'am has almost answered my question. It wasn't a very fast-paced life at that time, and in any case, Bimla's activities were mostly confined to whatever she did at home. She did not even have to work very hard because her servants did everything. So in terms of action, what does Bimla do? I mean, we see her embroidering, we see her doing her music lessons, humming her tunes around. Well, that's it. I mean, we don't see. Maybe she reads books and sometimes cooks occasionally. Of course, that is not even shown in the film, but the range of activities are very limited. So since she hasn't got much to do, it slows down the pace of the film. But it does gather momentum every time Sandeep comes and meets her, and the actions become faster. So I think that hopefully answers your question.
I think Prashad has come back. Prashad, please, your queries were not answered, not complete.
Satish,
Yeah, go
am I
ahead.
audible now?
Very true.
Okay. Now, most of what I had said were developed later, and I think Monali was able to answer them. I just wanted to mention a couple of other related issues which could be taken up. One is the relationship of Bimla with Amulya. You see, because he is almost like a son to her, although he's not that much younger, and he refers to her as a kind of a mother. So there is that desire for maternity in Bimla. You know, she was after all married for 10 years, and I wonder how the film could show it. In the novel, it's fairly prominent. And the second question would concern Tagore's own personal life. Because remember, Tagore also was very close to her sister-in-law, who was married when very young, and she was almost like a playmate to Tagore. I was wondering if these things are brought into the prominence in the film.
Yes, I can't agree more again. In fact, Amulya is projected almost like somebody who not only is an aide to Bimla, but also her son. So ideally, he should be aiding Sandeep, but we find that he is more honest and assistant to Bimla in her times of distress. And of course, he does behave like an obedient son. And in terms of Tagore, yes, in fact, Tagore's sister-in-law has not only been his playmate, but also his muse. So a lot of his writing has been dedicated to this particular sister-in-law. And not just that, there had been a lot of controversy surrounding his relationship with his sister-in-law, which were, of course, nobody could found any basis or evidence to support it. But of course, there was a lot of controversy. There were a lot of rumors. So, yeah.
Murali, from the cinematic point of view, apart from the story itself, which I really loved, cinematic point of view, you find most of the characters are, when they talk, they're just standing, or one is sitting, one is standing, They don't seem to be engaged in any activity at all. Once you find Bimla trying to play the piano. In the beginning, you have Bimla trying to sing a song which she has been taught by Miss Gilby. But there's very little action. And I wonder why these people don't have any action in their bodies. They're just standing stiff. But anyway, that's my view of the film. No, I was most impressed by its contemporary relevance. Here is a landlord who is Hindu. He's large-hearted. He's liberal. He has a lot of Muslim tenants who are traders who live on his land. And he supports them. And he says that Muslims are a part of India. Implore you not to encourage hatred. If you do so, you're courting disaster. These are his words. So, it has contemporary relevance. And so many years after the story was supposed to have taken place, 100 years afterwards, you still find that problem persists.
Exactly. In fact, much of what Tagore has been talking about in his fiction or in his writing still exists today. So at a certain point of time, he was talking about the dowry system, the patriarchal order, subservience of women in all walks of life. These things still exist today. And it almost seems as though we have regressed back to the Dark Ages under the influence of certain hegemonic forces. So yes, that is true. And even today, we are still fighting a certain kind of, not colonial dominance, but the dominance of the ruling power, and in case of that ruling power has any kind of religious inclination, then one is forced to follow it. So this is exactly what Tagore has been writing against, protesting against through his literature, and the Ghare Baire is a shining example of that. And yes, the lack of action, in fact, much of the action takes place within the mind. In fact, a lot of this action is generated by the inner conflicts of the characters, particularly these three characters, Bimla, Sandeep, and Nikhilesh. So how else is one supposed to do it? So Bimla, as I said, has got very limited activities to do, but the fact that she's thinking, there's a time when she opens the window and gazes out, and there is this rural scene that we can see trees and a stream flowing by and things of that kind. So she really wants to reach out because life within her house has started suffocating under Sandeep's invasion. She can see that Sandeep has emotionally hijacked her life. So yes, that also is true.
Yeah, there's a very bitter ending, because here is a landlord who is Hindu and who wants to do everything to protect the lives and the trade of his tenants who are Muslim. And finally, he's killed in a riot.
Yes.
On his own land.
In fact, ma'am, I'm glad you pointed this out, because I forgot to mention this in the presentation. In the novel, Tagore is very smart as a narrator, we all know. He has kept the ending open-ended. He does not mention whether Nikhil is dead or not. All that we know is that Amulya comes to Bimla with the news. What news? We have absolutely no idea. He has left it to the readers to decide. You be the judge. If you think Bimla is to be punished, turn her into a widow. If you don't think she should be punished and she should be forgiven, then Nikhil should come back. You decide the ending. Whereas Satyajit Ray cannot do that as a filmmaker. Yeah, because he has got to show things. He just cannot just tell the readers, you decide. So here he actually shows Bimla turning into a widow, something that Borarani really dreaded all the time. Throughout her film. I mean, throughout the film, she used to say, you should not do things that may finally destroy your marriage. Please don't do things that may make you into a widow. So yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Well, in a sense, all three communities have been, criticized heavily. The British are the colonizers. They've colonized India. The Hindus have people like Sandeep, who might go in for a good cause but are wrongdoers. And the Muslims, who are the sufferers, also get into a riot, and maybe by accident, but otherwise they kill their own landlord who is with them. So everyone is equally guilty.
In fact, Sandeep also, he takes wrong advantage of the crisis in his nation. He sort of raises funds and uses it only for his personal interest. And Amulya makes it very clear to Bimla in the film. And in the novel, this has been done very well through a lot of description and narration. So, and somewhere in the film, Bimla also picks up Nikhil's pack of, Sandeep's pack of cigarettes, and she can read English very easily. So she can see for herself that although he's talking about boycotting foreign, he smokes foreign cigarettes, and he does keep compromising on his values.
Monali, this is the first time that Soumitra Chatterjee, who had worked with Satyajit Ray before, right from, I think, Apur Sansar and Prajita and so on, he is now not the hero, but the quote-unquote villain. So do you think he feels good under his skin to be a villain when you've always played the protagonist hero with Satyajit Ray?
Well, with Satyajit Ray, it is very difficult to find out whether any given actor, no matter how popular he might be or successful he might be, what kind of a role he might get. So here we can see Soumitra Chatterjee performing the role of not just a villain, but okay, I might say anti-hero. Okay, but there are many other films of Satyajit Ray in which Soumitra Chatterjee has played the role of a gray character, wherein we cannot really discriminate whether he is a good character or a bad character. So mostly such films have characters that are so realistic that we cannot really categorize them as a good character or a bad character. So they are just realistic characters. That's all that we can say. So here also, in certain ways, Sandeep does try to be a good character. At least he returns Bimla's jewelry and those gold coins, as we see. He's
But
ethical,
in the process, a man is killed. Amulya kills a man.
Yeah, of course.
I think Kaveri is somewhere there. Kaveri, any comments from you? Kaveri, any comments from you?
Say something.
Any comments from you, Kaveri?
I think unless one has seen the film, one can't make comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I just say something? The title is Ghare Boire, which is home and outside. So the central figure should be Bimala, and she's the most inanimate actor.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And I'm sure, just by standing at a window, you really can't portray the inner turmoil and all going on. And actually, the two male characters are so well portrayed, and the acting of particularly
Victor Banerjee.
Yeah, Victor Banerjee in his gentle, sweet way, and the other fellow very powerful, very masculine, and all. Very, very convincing. But somehow, Bimla left me very
cold.
Yeah, sort of cold. Not cold, but one felt okay. Those were the times and whatever, but she could have been have a little more animation on her face. At least,
Yeah,
I
wanted to say something about
title is about her. The title is home and the outside. The men were anyway going outside all the time.
Well, outside in the sense of A, going to the other part of the house, B, actually learning about what is happening in the world.
I understand what that means.
I think Paki wants to say something. Paki?
Yeah, and then I was thinking about a review of this Ghare Boire, and the title of the film and the book is telling about the kind of action, because I think because it is the inside and the outside world, most of the action is shown in miniature in rooms, and all the the major ideas and the issues about nationalism and anti-nationalism are all portrayed through conversations, rather than action. And it's people inside the house, the Ghorer Moddhe, they are actually looking at the action through the window and then seeing, like you see the boat on fire or the riots that are taking place or whatever. And that is directly impacting the people inside the house. So that action per force is very slow, but it is a sort of like a miniature, it's very economically, the sets and the action are portrayed in one central room without going, lot of epic shots outside or whatever. But it manages to convey so much, She looks out of the window and she can see what's happening in the world. You also see the idyllic landscape and how it's changed by Sandeep coming in and sowing the seeds of unrest in that particular estate. So I think very, very, in a very condensed manner, it's managed to tell a lot. The acting of Bimala is a different thing, because I think she has not evolved as a character. She goes back to the under. She comes out for a very short time, and it is a comment on her leaving the inside world and going out into the world, as it were. But ultimately, she's a very compliant person. So she goes back to what she was used to. As a widow also, she would be again shrouded in. So there's not really any development. What do you feel, Manali?
In
Manali?
fact, Swati Rekha is a very seasoned actress. And before her career in film, she has been an extremely successful theater person.
Yeah.
So that is why for a role like this, for Satyajit Ray, she would have been a very obvious choice. Now, the fact that she looks inanimate is also might be a part of the kind of instructions she's got, because a lot of those things that she was doing, much of her action, except her compulsive emotional involvement with Sandeep, apart from that, much of her action has been reluctant. It was reluctant because she had her own inhibitions of going into the outside world. She had her own inhibitions of meeting Sandeep. In fact, before meeting Sandeep, she really hated him because she knew that he would keep on loaning money from her husband, showing a lot of nationalistic causes, which she was not aware of. And it was only when Sandeep impressed upon her mind through various ways, just like he had been successful with many other women, it is only then that she became compulsively emotionally involved. I mean, quite unhelped that way. But otherwise, much of her actions are very not very instinctive. They are not the ones that really are driven by her own desires. And that is why probably we always find her to be hesitant, reluctant, not very involved with the situation or the action, and not even taking part actively in any kind of action. So this might be the cause of the kind of behavior that she puts up.
Okay. Can we have the last comment from Kaveri?
May I ask
And
a
then
question?
Latika take over. First, Kaveri, please.
I think there's a someone wants to ask a question, Satish.
Yes, someone wants to ask a question. I don't know who it
Is it
is.
Poonam?
Arora.
It's me,
Poonam?
yeah, it's me, Poonam.
Yeah, Poonam.
My question is, that Swati Lekha, she looks so much older than Victor Banerjee. She's supposed to be, a very young woman. And she actually looks like a much older woman. So I somehow could not reconcile that. I don't know if anyone else felt that way.
Indeed, she has been much older, but for this kind of a purpose, she at that particular point, it seems to me as though for Satyajit Ray, Swati Lekha could have been the obvious choice. So there were very limited choices of people who could have really been a suitable cast for such a role, and Swati Lekha was a very good match for this. And in fact, just for your information, after about 26 years after this film had been released, Swati Lekha and Soumitra Chatterjee had reunited for another film called Shesh Bala, and it was a super hit again, just because these actors had been together in Ghore Baire together. So, of course, the subject of this particular film was also a brilliant one, and that is why it clicked so well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If there are no more questions, then maybe we can end this session. And hopefully,
Anything, Kaveri, any question?
Let's have a word from Kaveri, please.
Hi, Satish and Mohini, and Latika as well. Monali, you've done a wonderful task of trying to explain this particular film. And particularly the story was very complex. And as you pointed out, it was not possible to convey all that in the film. I must admit that this is one of the rare films which I thought did not have his typical touch. The relationship, the extramarital kind of relationship, for example, in Charulata was handled with such sensitivity and compared with this one, but then this had a much larger political backdrop to it. But Swati Lekha she was so vilified for her role in this that it traumatized her so much that for years she just would not act in any other film after that. So at a personal level, this apparently was really horrendous experience for her, because she got a lot of bad press. And when she and Soumitra did that last film together, it was like a redemption for her. But she went through years of a terrible thing because of the film. Yes, I think the fact that Satyajit Ray was not very well may have had something to do with the way in which this film was directed. It was rather heavy in parts. I think Latika has mentioned that. It was very heavy in some ways. And, the kind of contemplative thing that you see in Charulata also, some parts where she's looking out of a window and looking at the world through binoculars. That same feeling could not be conveyed in the way in which Shatilika was looking out of the world. So it did suffer from, I think, Ray's indisposition. But thank you so much, Monali. And you've you've read the book first before you saw the film. So I did the reverse. So I think you've picked up many more things in the course of your, in your description of the film. Thank you so much.
Latika, you have the stage now.
No, I'm glad we had a film. I don't know how many had actually seen the film, maybe 3, 4. But if more people had seen it, I think we would have had a more vibrant discussion. So next time we will urge people a little more strongly to see a film, a subtitled film, before actually speaking about it. But thank you very much, Monali, for your insights into the film. And let's continue doing films once in a while and books the other while. Thank you very much for this evening.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed. So if I may chime in now, I just want to say this has been such a super session, really. I mean, I have been wanting a film to be analyzed for a long time, and it came to pass. And Satyajit Ray, I mean, what better director could you have thought of? Monali, you showed how well you knew the film and the book, how much you had thought about it. And Latika, you were marvelous, in opening out all the areas. So thank you so much, both of you. I enjoyed it so much. I have seen the film, but many years ago. And this discussion definitely makes me want to revisit that film, because some of the comments that participants have made today did trigger the memory, and I agreed. And there were 1 or 2 things that I did not remember. So I need to go back and discover, that. And gosh, I got to read the book too. Now, it's so interesting how many factors come together to make the film what it is, in terms of its triumphs and its shortcomings, so many factors that none of us has been able to sort of categorically say one thing or another. It's a bit of this, it's a bit of that, it could have been this, it could have been that. This is the kind of complexity I love. So I have totally so enjoyed this session. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Monali and Latika. Thank you very, very much. Absolutely super. We need to have more of you, both of you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Get well. Get well, both of you. Get well soon.
Yes. And participants who contributed, thank you very much for that also. Now, I know the time is running out. Frankly, I'd love to talk some more about this, but of course, all good things also have to come to an end. So may I just tell you what to expect in the coming couple of Sundays? So next Sunday, now this is the beauty of the book club, every offering that we have is so different from the one before. So here was Satyajit Ray and Ghare Ray, and now next time we have a novel called American Dirt. Okay, American Dirt, which is being presented by Sheena Shahani, who, if you remember, had presented Shaggy Ben to us some time ago. Thereafter, the Sunday after that, so 21st November is American Dirt, and 28th November is Varsha Ghate is going to talk about the short stories of Alice Munro. All right, now you know that Alice Munro was that surprise Nobel awardee. I think everyone was rather surprised when she was chosen for the Nobel. Happy to, I mean, I remember reading some of Alice Munro. I thought, oh, who is this person? And I found some of her stuff and I read it. So I'm glad this discussion is coming up. But taking a point from what Latika said, if only more people had seen this film, it would have been an even better discussion. So I'm going to ask Varsha to put up a couple of short stories of hers, give us links to them.
Mami, will you speak to Ishan? He's joining me.
So that, more of us would know more closely what Varsha will talk about. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for commenting. Above all, of course, Monali and Latika, thank you so, so very much. So see you next Sunday.
Thank you, and you both take care, Satish and Mohini.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monali.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Paki, we look forward to your review also.
Okay. Let me make
Thank you,
some-
Paki ma'am, for your comments. They were very good. And even Prashant Sinha sir for your comments. Thank you.
Absolutely. See,
Thank you,
these are
Monali.
people who know their stuff. They are thinkers. So always valuable to have them around.
Yes.
Because
yes, ma'am.
of you, Mohini, I went and watched the movie all over again.
Very good. I knew you would. I knew you would. But Paki, this movie is, in your range of interests, which is why I asked you to write the review, right?
Yeah.
So you see, you sort of gained from it as well, right? From this experience.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Winners all round, folks. We have all gained from the experience. Okay, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.